folks, back on the Bossman show. Coach Phil Cunningham, the Louisiana-Monroe Warhawks out of the Sun Belt Conference. Coach, how you doing down there in Monroe, Coach?
Doing good, man. Down here, we're balling on the bayou down here, JR, but it's going great, and just trying to finish off this roster right now.
I hear that, Coach. Come here, this Coach, man. You've been a coach a long time in this game of college basketball. For you, how has it changed on and off the court for you as a coach, man?
Well, I think on the court, it's evolved. The offense has changed. We've gone more from set plays to concepts, and the ball screen has taken over. So on the court, I think that's a natural evolution just in any sport that we've had. The changes have come in recruiting. That's being Mr. Obvious there, but that's where the dramatic changes have been from when I was a young coach working for Coach Drizel at Georgia State, and then when I went on to Mississippi State. The traditional model of recruiting was you recruit a young man for 2-3 years sometimes, and then you try to get them to commit early, and then you try to hold on to the commitment, and then you get them to signing date, and then they come to school and they move up the ladder, freshman, sophomore, and keep moving. But it's completely that model's been shattered completely, particularly at our level, and really at all levels, but our level for sure. So obviously the transfer portal and the advent of NIL has completely changed everything. It's amazing. I got this job 7 weeks ago. It's changed dramatically in 2 months. I know it's hard to believe, but it really has, particularly because of the roster limits and how that's affected our ability to go get big guys.
No doubt, Coach. And for you, like this is like speed dating almost. Like you ever had to go off a video and talking to coaches more than ever now and trusting guys because you really can't build a relationship with these guys now. Is that we got to kind of speed date them almost and make a determination within a week or so.
JR, it's a great way to put it. Speed dating, it's exceptional analogy right there, and it's very similar. But I think everybody has a process, and for me, I have a 3-step process. Number one, I want to see the highlight video. And we all know the highlight video is going to be only good. But I think you can eliminate recruits with that highlight video as much as anything. Maybe they're not slow, they're not quick enough to play in the Sun Belt. Maybe they don't shoot it well enough. Maybe they just don't have that. They're not that particular need you're looking for. They don't fit it for some reason. So I think, the highlight video is number one. And then secondly, I'll go immediately to the stats. Anybody other than the center, I want to see how they've shot the ball. Can they stretch the floor? If you're 6'7", 6'8", and you're going to play the 4, can you stretch the floor? Have you made any threes? What kind of percentage you made? I always look at assist to turnover rate. I don't get caught up in the scoring and rebounding quite as much because there's so many things that can affect that. But those shooting percentages and the assist to turnover ratio, I'm going to immediately go to those. And then the third thing, if you get past those next 2 steps, we go to synergy. And when you start watching synergy and you watch more than 1 or 2 games, you can't just watch 1 or 2. You might get a great game or you might get 2 bad games. You got to keep watching. And that's where you'll really see the good and the bad. And at that point, that's when we take the next step. Now, some guys are automatic. You know about them beforehand, and you don't have to go through that 3-step process. But when you're dealing in that portal and the volume of guys that are coming at you, you've got to be able to have a process that you're going to use. And that's what we use. And then, as you mentioned earlier, then you got to start digging when it comes to character, academics, work ethic, those things. Then you got to do a little more digging past the videos portion of it when you go to that point.
And Coach, something my dad always talked to me about is asking the young man what's his why. My dad was big on their why. Why are you coming to practice? Why you want to be on the court? Why do you want to be on this team? So, and for you and your staff, talk about knowing a young man's why. Is it because you want NIL money? Because you really want to be a Warhawk and be about what we're building here at Monroe?
Well, JR, that's a great question. And I think we can't overthink things either. Now, I think at our level, we have to understand that we're going to be a stepping stone for some guys, and I don't think we can run from that. So we're not going to dig down too deep in the process to see where they are in terms of that, because they're thinking about it. They're not, we don't have to verb them. They're thinking about it, and they're thinking at this level, if I can play well, I can move up. I mean, the player of the year in our league went to Indiana and supposedly made near $2 million. So that's a great opportunity for guys at our level. If that money's available, if they play well at our level. So number one, I don't think we can overanalyze what their why is. I think what we have to figure out with them is okay, because we tell them, we say, once you get here now, it's all about the team for the next 12 months. Really about a 10-month process, but it's all about the team. This decision is a selfish one. You make the decision that's best for you, but once you arrive on campus, it's all about the team. So our job as coaches, we've got to do everything in our power to make it about the team every single day, no matter what we're doing throughout the year. And kind of they're talking about those other things. They're going to talk about them. They're going to think about them. They're going to evaluate what's going on around the country. For us to just act like it's not happening, I think it's a mistake on our part. But we definitely have some things we've got to do on our part to really make sure it's all about the team.
And Coach, this summer when you guys get on campus, it's going to be more of team stuff. We're going to do a lot of individual stuff too to kind of get them better summertime as well. With little concepts here and there. So when you come to fall semester in August, it's not all brand new. You have to cram so much in before November 3rd.
JR, we'll do a little both. We definitely want to get ahead on some team stuff. Here's our issue: is we're going to recruit international. We've signed 4 already. So we'll have at least 4. We'll add another one. And those guys, it's not as easy to get, particularly the freshmen. It's not as easy to get them on campus in the summer because of U.S. federal law. They have got to take so many in-person classes. I feel like I've got a PhD in international recruiting. I've done it my entire career. So I don't want to speak in language that may not be understandable, but there's a lot of it's hard to get an international player here for the summer term versus a domestic U.S. player. You get those guys on campus easy. The transfers, you get them in easy. So if we've got 15 players, we'll have at least 4 won't be here this summer. So we can't get too far ahead of ourselves in terms of teamwork this summer. Now we're going to do some. We've got to establish some things like how we're going to play on both sides of the ball. But we can't get way down the road and then start all over again in the fall. Now we're going to be ahead. And those guys, new guys, the international guys in August, they've got to catch up. That's their responsibility to catch up. But we can't make it so hard, get so far down the road that it's hard. We don't get the best out of them and get them to the point where they can contribute in November.
No doubt. Coach Basket's coach, the Sun Belt has been a tough league for years, man. And let's talk about just how the quality of basketball. I see it when our teams come to Georgia State and play over there of the Conference Center. But let's talk about just how tough this league is. When I watch the league, man, I'm impressed with the quality of basketball and the quality of coaching up and down the league.
Well, it's interesting because I tell guys in recruiting, because they don't know much about the Sun Belt unless they're from right around here, and I tell them, it really, if you take the footprint of the SEC, how it kind of goes from Texas all the way over to South Carolina, very similar. And we always say it's very similar to the SEC, except you go to each of those states and you go pick out 1 or 2 of the best mid-major programs in the state, and I said that makes for a really competitive league. And so what this league is right now, JR, it's a tough league because there's so many teams in the league. Now it's great for football because they have all those bowl opportunities to go to, but in basketball, it's pretty much been a one-bid league throughout its existence. So when you have 14 teams across from Texas all the way over to North Carolina, you're going to have a lot of really good programs, a lot of good coaches. It's an extremely competitive league. It's only one team can go to the NCAA tournament in March. And in March, that's where everybody wants to be. So it's a extremely competitive league. I think everybody thinks in terms of NLL that it's all about the SEC and the ACC and the Power Five. It's everywhere. It's a very important factor in the Sun Belt right now. But it's a league where when I was in the league the first time at Troy, you had a lot of veteran coaches. The Ron Hunters at Georgia State, the Danny Caspers at Texas State, Mark Byington was at Georgia Southern. You can go up and down to Chris Beard was at Little Rock for a year. John Brady was at Arkansas State when I got in the league. Now the coaching makeup of the league has really changed. Now it's a lot of first-time head coaches that I think they're going to be the next Chris Beards and Ron Hunters of the world, but they haven't been there yet. But I see a lot of young coaches in this league, really good in recruiting. I just think it's a league that man, you better have some players, number one, because there's going to be talent up and down this league.
So to ask you a question about Ron Hunter, how was the play against his zone, man? It's not really a 2-3 zone. It's his own version of a zone with man principles. Talk about playing against that zone, Coach. How was it prepared for that, man?
JR, I mean, you can't. And we had a great rivalry with him because he was great to me because obviously I'd been there with Coach Rozelle. When he got the job, he did a great job of making Coach Rozelle part of it. I think he was part of when they named the court after Coach Rozelle, and I think he was in on all that. So he and I have had a great relationship since the day he got to Georgia State and I got to Troy. But back to your question, playing him, I was at Western Kentucky before I came to ULM. We played them down in, I don't know, it was Cancun or the Caymans or somewhere. And I was telling Coach Stansbury, I said, look, I can tell you my thoughts on this, but we played against them 2-3 times a year for 6 years, and I still don't know what they're doing. I think the biggest strength of his zone was it took up so much mental energy from a coaching standpoint of trying to figure out, and it was so hard to figure out. It wasn't a typical zone. It wasn't man-to-man. It was a matchup. But I feel like sometimes they didn't know what they were doing. And that chaos was what made them so good.
It's actually enjoy going to practice and watching practice, man. It would just blow my mind. I've been running the game for years. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Yeah, but hey, JR, I'll make one good point. Don't ever forget this about Coach Hunter's team. He always had great offensive players too.
Yes.
So you had problems on both ends. You had to be able to score against that zone, but you had to somehow stop the guys he had. He was loaded offensively.
And coach, for you, man, in this new world of the NILs, it changed scheduling for you all because everybody got players now. So how has it been trying to schedule games now? Are the Power Fives more willing to play the Sun Belt now because you pretty have the same level of players now? You can't pick and choose. Everybody's players now with the portal.
Yeah, I don't think scheduling's changed a whole lot. I think what's changed as much as anything is the timing of it. I think that if you look at recruiting now in college basketball, from the time the season ends, let's just say mid-March until mid-May, maybe longer. You want it to be done by mid-May, but mid-March to mid-May is just 100 miles an hour, all recruiting in the portal, however you're doing it. Almost everybody's roster is flipping. The concept of returning guys, everybody wants that, but it's hard to do right now. Maybe it'll settle down in the next 3 or 4 years, but right now kids they're moving around to be moving. It's just, let's be real about it. They're just changing. You got Power 5 kids going from one Power 5 to another. You got kids at our level moving up. Not as many people moving down as everybody thought there would be. Everybody's trying to get to that because it's all about that payday. Even if I'm coming off the bench as an 8th, 9th man and I'm getting that kind of money. So back to your answer, your question about scheduling, I'll give you a good example. For us, we scheduled Ole Miss back in the fall. Okay, the contract was signed. We've got to play them in November. Now, with Chris Beard at Ole Miss, they're always going to be good. Don't get me wrong. They're always going to be good. But if you've kept up with recruiting in the last couple of weeks, man, and I know these international guys, they have signed some tremendous international guys in the last 2-3 weeks. Under these you've seen these older guys. These guys have been playing professionally in Europe that are choosing to come over here to the States because they can make more money playing in the SEC than they can in Europe. They've nailed 2 or 3 of them that take them to another level. So every day I look at that contract, I say, man, I wish we hadn't signed that contract back in November, or October, whenever we signed it. I said, I wish we could just kind of pick and choose now who to play. I think you got a lot of that going on, kind of gamesmanship. Everybody's evaluating rosters to see how good people are going to be. But those teams like an Ole Miss, man, they're going to be good every year. But, man, he's added some guys down the stretch here that really make me rethink that game.
No doubt, Coach. That's what I got for you, Coach. When you was here in Atlanta, what was your favorite place to eat when you were down here, man?
Well, when I was at Troy, and we'll do it again at ULM, I'll tell you where I love to eat. Eats, right? You EATS. You know what I'm talking about?
I sure do.
I mean, and for you talking about bang for your buck now. For the take, go in there. It's probably more than it was when I was in Atlanta, of course. But even when I would always take the Troy team out there because it's quick, it's inexpensive, it's great food, and it's plenty of it too. Like when you roll up in there with a basketball team, you better be getting more than the burger and fries that you might get somewhere else. And it eats. A basketball player walks out of there pretty full, and always great food, great choice. And that's my number one spot. Always love it. It was close to campus at Georgia State. We would go over there sometimes. But I miss going to Eats, EATS, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I sure do, Coach. Well, Coach, hopefully the schedule works out where I'm in town, the Hawks are in town. I can come see you play when you play Georgia State, and I look forward to seeing you. And if you come a late point in July, I'll be there, Coach, as well, man.
JR, that'd be great. I'd love to see you again.
Thanks, Coach. It's fun to talk to you now. I'm gonna tell my dad that I had a great show with you because my dad was talking you up to me offline, Coach.
Awesome. Tell him I said hi.
I'll sure, Coach. Have a great day. Talk to you soon, okay. Coach.
Thank you. See you, JR.
All right. Thank you.